Jason Horowitz, Randy Cross, and Hall of Famer Darrell Green continuing with you here on Countdown to Kickoff on CBSSports.com. Be sure to check out all the segments here from Wednesday afternoon, including news and notes, and Darrell's thoughts on Hall of Famers in general, including whether or not Kurt Warner should be in the Hall of Fame. But let's get into some wide receivers, because Darrell, that's your expertise. Trying to stop a wide receiver as a Hall of Fame cornerback. You look at this game, so much being talked about Larry FITZGERALD. What is the key to try and stopping a guy like Larry FITZGERALD?
Well, I pulled out some notes with Art Monk, Al Toon, Herman Moore, Michael Irvins, all 6'2" and above, 200 and above. And, those guys, they're big, they try to push off and so forth. And when I played them, that was my whole thing, stay away from them. And so that I can sort of enter in where I want to enter in on the ball. And we talked earlier off camera about where they want to throw the ball. If I can be in position, I can make a play on that ball, and I don't want to be up against his body. He's too big, he's too strong. Once he explodes, it's over. So I always wanted to play, let me get back, and then I'm going to attack the ball sort of as an offensive receiver would. But I tell you, they've done an incredible job this year, and you talked about them throwing the ball up, and they like to play the vertical, but nobody has been able to stop them. But I didn't mind playing the big guys. I didn't want to play the little midgets like me that could run like little water bugs.
Darrell, it's a funny thing when you look at Anquan Boldin and Larry FITZGERALD, and that's not to mention Urban and Preston and the rest of them. But specifically those two receivers, your job has like different segments. There's the pre-snap, there's just after the snap, there's preventing the catch, and then almost more important than any other part of it is if they do catch the ball, they are so good after the catch running the ball. What do you do, or what's the key to handling a big guy like that when you're not the biggest of guys as a defensive back?
And that's what I would, again, as I was saying, I don't want to have too many physical confrontations with them. I want to only interact with them at the ball. Now, if it's a short yardage, you think they're going to run the quick slant, you got to just go and give it to them, then you got to bring everything you got at the line of scrimmage to stop their feet. But as a whole, I used to play a position game. I want to be in position. I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm not going to flip anybody. I just want to be able to attack the ball when it's coming. So I want to be in good position to do that. And I think with those guys, if you get into a fighting and pushing match, you're going to probably lose. Or just a straight jumping match and you're in the wrong position.
But that first tackler, and you can say that about a lot of the players in this game offensively, but if that first tackler, especially with those two receivers, if you can get him on the ground after the catch, that is a big thing to put in Warner in some positions where he's not getting those explosive plays.
Well, if I'm the guy covering him, hopefully if he does catch it, I'm going to make the tackle. And you're right. Advantage him if he can catch it on me and knock me down and I don't make the play. Now he's got a chance at the secondary, the next guy to beat them, and that's not good. That's problems. You got problems right there.
Who you played, 2 decades, your career span, can you compare Anquan Boldin and Larry FITZGERALD as a duo?
Not a duel in these body frames, the way they're doing it. But, I mean, goodness, there was tons of duels. You had the players at the Redskins, Art Monk, Gary Clark, and those guys. You had Duper Clayton, Michael Irvins, and a bunch of guys he played with. And I think the Niners had 2 guys.
We had a couple.
Guy named Taylor and
Rice were all right.
Some guy named Rice. A lot of duels, but, double threats. But these guys are just these big guys, and that's kind of a unique part of it.
How different has it been to watch FITZGERALD specifically? Because Boldin's more of the runner after the catch type. But FITZGERALD, and we talked about this earlier, about getting off the ground. When you're playing a guy likes to jump, what's the best cure for a guy that likes to get off the ground?
Well, the main thing is you need to understand it. You watch the film and you see what Kurt likes to do. So you can't find yourself trying to stare Kurt down. You better try to run where the ball is going to be. And again, as I mentioned, be in position to compete for that ball. When we talk about Hines Ward, that's what we'll talk about. We'll talk about competing. And the same thing with these guys. You've got to be able to compete for the ball at the highest point. And you can't do that if he's all over you because you're too little. You can't do that if you're out of position. You've got to be in position on these guys. If you're not, trouble
Well, let's get into Hines Ward a little bit because we've probably gone 3-4 minutes here, and it's like Steelers don't even have receivers. And I think that's one of the themes here this week is that everyone's talking about the Cardinals' offense and their receivers against the Steelers' defense. And with the exception of Hines Ward's injury, you forget that Pittsburgh's got some weapons as well. Your thoughts on him as a player and what he's been able to do in his career?
Well, I thought about this earlier because of something we were talking about who's he like? And he'd probably hate me when I say this, but tough and gritty like Phil McConkey. Phil McConkey, y'all know Phil McConkey. Tough and gritty like Ed McCaffrey. Ed McCaffrey, I hated the guy. He was about 6'4", too, and he wouldn't stop. And another guy who's a shorter guy, Johnny Morton at Detroit. These were guys who, no, they're not, you're not on the top of the chart, you're not gonna count them as, but they are the most toughest, gritty, gonna play all day against you. You better not go to sleep. That's the way he is. With I think a little bit more talent as well, obviously, but he's a combination of a talented guy with that kind of guy who's not as talented, that just works. That's a bad combination as well.
But one of the things that's been brought up, Randy, and you, I'm sure, have heard this as well, is that there are articles being written questioning whether or not he's a dirty player. Do you guys think he's a dirty player?
No.
Not even close.
No, nowhere.
Not even approaching.
He's dirty to the guy who he just stiff-armed in the face, who came up there playing around, and he's not playing. Yeah, that's dirty. No, he's not dirty.
Yeah. Ben Roethlisberger made a comment earlier this week. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. He says there's no doubt that Hines will be going 100% when he hits the football field, which begs the question, if he's not physically close to 100%, we know he'll be trying hard, but if he's not able to play his normal game, how much does it affect that offense?
I think it hurts him. I think it hurts him because a guy like that he's about giving everything, but he's got to have his body to give everything, and you're one down. I think that hurts them tremendously.
And, of course, they also need to get their running game going, something that Arizona has not allowed the three teams they've played so far in the playoffs to have happen. We'll get into that a little bit when we talk about the defenses in another segment with Darrell Green here on Countdown to Kickoff on CBSSports.com. With you all week from Tampa. Take care, folks.